Welcome to the Core Wellness Studio. This is a test to see how this works on Google Hangouts and Webinar Jam. So I'm going to stand up and I'm going to walk towards the camera and see if there is a demonstrable difference in the audio quality from close and far away. And I'm just going to make sure that you can get good resolution through movement. If I move, can you see the movements clearly, or does it blur out and digitize? While I'm here, this is a good exercise for everybody to do. Sit to bridge, get a ball, and just do some circles, side to side, inside, clockwise, counterclockwise, and then slowly walk yourself out. Let your head rest. Walk out to a bridge and just let it all go. Try not to arch your back too much. Let your low back relax. It's more about your hip muscles in the back, your glutes, and you should be able to do it by squeezing your glutes, but you should still be able to hold without squeezing your glutes. Both ways are important. The ball is pushing my head forward, so I'm going to come back just a little bit. There we go. And important to get good shoulder mobility while you're working on your core stability. Okay. I also like I believe it's called the Russian twist, where you roll over onto one shoulder, roll over onto the other shoulder. And this works on good hip mobility, spinal rotation, and all the while staying long. I caught myself trying to poke my chin. Stay nice and long, side to side. That's really good on that opposite side. I injured my left hip Thanksgiving last year, and it feels really good to go through that external rotation, that reaching pattern. Now this is also, get up a little closer, it's also a neurodevelopmental pattern, because we're putting one arm down as a fixed point. We're going to plant our elbow, or imagine we're planting our elbow, and then we're reaching with the other. Okay? Ideally, it would be even better if we were, let's just go ahead and do what the original pattern looks like. And that is, here, we plant our inside elbow. We start the pattern of rolling. And right here, we want to make sure we're not, our shoulder's not going into our ears. Push away from our elbow. That creates shoulder stability in the back. And all the while, as we're doing this, we have to make sure that our chin isn't poking to do this, but it's long, and the deep neck flexors are working, and the eyes drive the movement. Okay? So we go from here, which is the baby back position, to slow roll plant. Maintain your scapular stability. Slowly reach out and find. So now we're on the hip, on the side of the hip. Right? So this is a homolateral pattern, meaning your ipsilateral pattern. This, over to the knee, and then up, and then over to quadruped. From quadruped, we're going to make sure our shoulders aren't up in our ears again. Always pushing way up from our support points, making sure that we're utilizing the push away from the thenar aspect of the hand. Not only ulnar, but the thenar. One of the most common mistakes and developmental issues for kiddos is if they're not developing appropriately, they'll always push off of their ulnar aspect, so you have to make sure that both pillars of the hands are represented when you're pushing off or you're maintaining support. And we're just rocking. And this is also a good time to really maybe widen out the knees a little bit, okay? Widen out the knees and get into a tactical frog where you just let everything drop back and mobilize those hips. You may need to use a pillow or something if you have tender knees. This is a little tender for me, especially if you've had meniscus injuries on the inside of your knees. It's a great way to groove the pattern of good hip mobility. Okay. Then the next thing is, we were going to go through the neurodevelopmental sequence, is we go to bear crawl, right? Not being like this, but being long and tall, right? And being able to maintain that position and start to slowly, one hand up, one hand back, like you're crawling. Maintain. As soon as you lose the ability of your scapula to depress and stabilize, then exercise is over. You may want to do this in bursts, like go up into it, hold it. You may be able to, depending on your capacity, you may be able to hold that only for maybe 5 seconds, or let's not talk in terms of seconds, let's talk in terms of breaths. You may be able to hold that for only a breath or two. And while I'm saying that, the breath, if you cannot breathe normally through your center, right, and get a good breath down low that expands to the front, to the back, and to both sides, 360 degrees like a cylinder, like you're increasing the pressure inside your intra-abdominal cavity, right, down here in your dantian or in your center or your core. If you cannot breathe into that, then you have no business doing the movement or the exercise. Okay? So again, here, if you're just starting out, if you can get here, turn on all of your focus and attention to your breath and pushing away from your support points and staying as long as you can. And again, imagining pushing away from support points is imagining that even the head is a support point. If you're pushing away from something from your head, that's going to automatically engage your center and engage your deep stabilizing system of your spine. That intention is the most important thing, the intention of pushing away. Right? So here we are again, the intention of pushing away. Now what does this evolve into? It evolves into eventually baby squat next, right? And this squat. So in this, you should be able to do this with flat heels on the ground. And of course, this requires lots of ankle mobility. If you've had ankle issues in the past, where you have stiffness in your ankle, they have extremely tight hamstrings or calf muscles, this may seem like it's almost impossible to do, but it is a goal, okay? A worthy goal to continue to work on that mobility. But just about anybody can do a bear crawl because it doesn't require you to have immense length in your hamstrings and calf muscles. It just requires you to have the stability and a little bit of hip mobility so your butt is out just slightly. I'm not saying that your butt's way out, like majorly stuck up in the air, but at least your back is flat, okay? And can you move in that position? When you start doing stuff like this, okay? When you start moving and you can move like this, and your nervous system will remember. It'll go back in time and say, ah, I remember what that felt like. It's kind of like a reset. It's like erase and replace. Actually, there's a computer store in Clarksville here that I take my computer to called Wipe and Restore. That's kind of what this does. When you go back to zero, when you zero out and go back to the beginning, that place where everything was just exploding and developing, right? When you go back to zero, to that point, it kind of reboots the nervous system, and it kind of your brain and your nervous system remembers. Okay, even if you happen to have had a stressful infant life, like if you had maybe respiratory distress, you were born, a month or you were born premature and you had breathing problems, and maybe you didn't go through development just perfectly, right? It still gives you an opportunity. Your brain, it's in there. That pattern from the beginning of time is in there of how humans develop. So whenever you get in there and you wake up that old system, or maybe waking up that system for the first time, your brain is like, bam! Central nervous system is rebooted. The buzz is calmed. All of the stress and the high tone, all that, the buzz, the compressor that's in your brain, whenever you find that center point and breathe, it calms the buzz. It's like whenever a storm comes and knocks out the electricity and all of the air conditioning compressors shut off, and that quiet. I remember when Hurricane Ike came through, our whole neighborhood was silent. Silent. And there's so much healing and peace that's there. And you can do that to yourself by bringing yourself to zero. Bringing yourself to that erase and replace, or that wipe and restore, right? So you wipe out all of those bad patterns, or bad patterns, good or bad, it's not good or bad. Wipe out all of those patterns that have been put into you, and you start out fresh with a new slate, and then you can rebuild your own motor programs. You can rebuild a new coordination pattern, right? You can start to go back, okay, now I'm going to go to bear crawl. Now I'm going to get into my best possible squat. Now I'm going to stand up. Now I'm going to pay attention to pushing away from my support points and spiraling open and becoming vertical and long and tall, having the intention of growth, renewal, and expansion, and not the intention of stress, decay, breakdown. Your thoughts matter. All right? Okay, well, this was a good test for the webinar system that I'll be doing coming up, and hopefully maybe even you got some benefit out of the content. All right? Have a great day. See you later. Bye-bye.